Hey friends! So tonight we are in a different location, as you can see. We're in my dining room, my cavernous dining room, so I'm sorry about the echo. But I needed a table to lay out my treasures that I'm going to share with you tonight. Probably the second most popular question we get about Louise and about all of our restorations is, what treasures have you found in the walls? We know you found treasures in the walls. What have you found? Well, the problem with Louise is that we haven't really gotten to that demo stage yet. Before you can start tearing things out, you have to build things up. You have to make sure the foundation is stable and the roof is secure. And once we get those things done, then we can kind of start taking out some walls and see what we might find in there. But with Louise, we're going to do a lot of lath and plaster restoration to her original lath and plaster. So we won't have as many opportunities to find treasures in her as we have in our other restorations. So I thought we would take the opportunity to show you some of the amazing things that we have found in our last two properties. And I have some awesome stuff, some of the coolest stuff ever to show you guys tonight. So bear with me, this might be kind of a long one, but some really amazing things that we found and that we want to share with you. I keep all of them. A lot of them are in storage cabinets, showcases here in the house. And then anything that I don't have room for in a showcase goes in a box in the attic because I just can't part with any of it. Even if it looks like a scrap of trash, I can't stand to part with it if it's been in the house for 100 years. So I'm going to start with some things that we found at our house on Amelia Island, Florida. Now, that house was in Old Town Fernandina Beach. And Old Town Fernandina Beach is the oldest platted settlement in the United States. It was platted in I think the late 1500s. And so there have been European settlers since the 16th century in that area. So you literally cannot turn over a shovel of dirt without finding something from that time period. Before that, and really enduring that, because there was a lot of cohabitation, there were Indian middens that were there. There were Indian tribes that lived there, fished there. And so there was lots of Indian middens, which are basically trash piles that are there. So every time you dig, you're gonna hit those kind of European settler layers, and then you're gonna find the Native American layers under that. And that's my heritage. So that's it's really cool for me because I'm Scottish and Native American, and those are the two groups of people literally who settled in that area before the Spanish. So a lot of personal history for me there. So we lived in one of 5 captains' houses that still remain in Old Town that were built by sea captains. The most famous house, of course, is the Pippi Longstocking house that's there just right around the corner from our house. But our house was built by Captain McNeil, and he was actually the brother-in-law of the man who built the Pippi Longstocking house. And these guys were harbor pilots. They would wait for the tall ships to come into the St. Mary's River, and they would go harbor them through the dangers that they faced on that river. That, of course, the sea captains didn't necessarily know, but those harbor pilots and river pilots knew. He also ran routes from Fernandina Beach up into South Carolina. So he was a fascinating character. He and his family were amazing. So while we lived there, I found you literally couldn't. These are things that I would find just planting a plant in the front yard. Tons and tons of salt glaze. This is very, very early salt glaze, probably 1700s. This is late 17, early 1800s fish scale pottery. These are import pottery from the Far East. Tons of that came in. There's some really, really delicately painted pieces. I love these. These are all hand painted 18th century pieces. These are some of my favorite finds. These are pipe stems. So this is a clay pipe stem these were disposable cigarettes. These are the cigarette butts of the 17th, 18th, 19th century. And this, of course, would have been a long pipe. You see those illustrations, those old illustrations of the grizzled seafarer, and he's got his long pipe in his mouth. Well, this is a piece of that. I only ever found one bowl, and it was really degraded, and it was like a half of one, but tons of the pipes. These are probably my most exciting finds from that area. That doesn't look like much, does it? It's just a lump of metal. Like, why is that exciting? That's exciting because it's part of a cannonball that was in my yard. So probably from the days when Old Town Fernandina was a Spanish fort or even a Scottish fort, there was some sort of engagement and there was a cannonball deployed and its little shrapnel ended up in my yard. This little doodad is a musket ball, and it is a hand poured lead. I wish you could feel it. It's really heavy. You can see the seaming around it where it was poured into, the lead was poured into a mold and allowed to cool. So you think about that. So for these guys to shoot their muskets, first of all, they had to make their ammunition. Many of them made their own ammunition. Then they had to, pack, have the little gunpowder packets. They had to bite those off. They had to load the gun. I mean, like just to load and fire a weapon one time was weeks worth of work. It's crazy to think about. I mean, and this is my favorite treasure from that location. So I think if I hold it here, you can see it. If I get it too much closer, it may get blurry. So as I told you, the house was built by a sea captain, right? He spent his whole life on the water. And we did some metal detecting in the front yard with Chip Kirkpatrick. He is a metal detectorist down there in Fernandina Beach. He's quite well known. He's a friend of ours on Facebook. He's an incredible guy. And we turned up this coat button. Now, I don't know if you can see that or not, but there is an anchor and a rope. So obviously this is a jacket button from someone who is involved in seafaring. So we think that this coat button actually belongs to our very own BJ McNeil, who built our captain's house in Fernandina Beach, Florida. So we love this piece. This is treasure. This is living history. All of these things that come up out of the ground that show human habitation. What's funny is, if they make their way into the ground as pieces of pottery, as shards like this, they were trash to somebody. They broke this, they threw it in the trash. It ended up in my yard, probably, after hundreds of years of being in a refuse pile. To us, it's living history. To us, I'm touching something that someone last touched 200 to 250 years ago in that house. And that's in that location. And then 100 years ago in that house. And that's just amazing. We don't get a lot of opportunities to do that. Most things that people touched 250 to 300 years ago are behind glass in museums. And so we don't get to enjoy that tactile experience of touching the things that are really part of human history. Now in this house, the house that I'm sitting in right now, we did a massive demolition. We had to, because of a lot of damage, we had to take out all the walls. All the lath and plaster had to go away. And we found such a treasure trove when we pulled out those walls. Now y'all are gonna laugh, but one of the best treasure troves we've ever found in any of our houses was a raccoon's nest. There was a raccoon's nest located in between the floors of what is our hallway. And that raccoon's nest was 6 by 6. There was just stuff packed in this huge nest that had been obviously built and rebuilt and rebuilt over 130 years, where this raccoon had lived here as long as people did. And we know that, first of all, it was a raccoon and not a rat or a possum or whatever, that I know you guys are like going to tick, 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 tick. It was probably a rat's nest. No, it was a raccoon because there was a dead raccoon in the nest, like curled up in the center of it. So we're pretty sure it was a raccoon. But Mr. Rocky Raccoon had saved so many amazing things for us. Like this, the Ideal Standard Boiler Company instruction book for installing our first hot water heater. Now this house was built in 1909. The instruction booklet and the manufacturer's date in here, 1908. So we know that this is the instruction booklet. I don't know if you can see that, probably not. The date's right down there in the corner. We know that this instruction booklet is the instruction booklet for the first hot water heater that was put in this home. Isn't that fantastic? Thank you, Rocky, for saving this for me. This is probably one of my favorites. Look at this. Look at Frances's little shoe. And I only say Frances because I know one of the ladies who grew up here who's now in her 90s is named Frances. So one shoe. Can you imagine that mama saying, Frances, where's your shoe? I told you, you cannot wear your dress shoes outside to play. And look, now you have, and you've lost one. I'm going to have to go buy you some new shoes. And 100 years later, I find Francis's shoe in the raccoon nest in the attic. That's also how we know it was a raccoon, because there's a lot of things in there that raccoons who love sparkly little things had taken to put in there. This is another favorite. This is a lady's hat pin. First of all, how awesome is it that we live in a house that was built when ladies still wore those fantastic, huge hats that required hat pins. But this one is amazing because it is stamped, it's sterling silver, I don't know if I can get it in focus, for an all-women's college that obviously some lady who lived here or who visited here at some point attended university. And because it's a hat pin, we know it's probably no later than 1910, maybe 1920, but with the size of this pin, I'm thinking somewhere 1890 to 1910 would require a hat pin of this size. And when we first found it, there were dried rose petals still inside the filigree. Those have kind of disintegrated and gone by the wayside, which breaks my heart. But this is probably my favorite thing. This and Francis's shoe stay in a showcase that's in my living room. Another hat pin, a shorter hat pin, so a later hat pin, little jet bead on the top. So maybe a morning hat pin, M-O-U-R, not M-O-R, morning. We do know that there were some people who died in this house, so there was a time of mourning and you wore lots of black, or maybe it just coordinates with everything. Who knows? I always like to give a macabre twist to everything. Anyone need some double action baking powder? Probably around 19, it's got to pay for labels, so 1910, 1920. Isn't that fantastic? This was in Rocky's little nest. Strangest thing that Rocky the raccoon collected. Radio fuses, fuse bulbs. When I tell you that there were hundreds of these, and I mean hundreds, we carried out box loads of fuse bulbs, big, small, and every size in between. Now, for those of you who are babies and you don't know what these are, these actually, there would be a pair of them that went in your radio, and this is what made your radio go. So, when people would sit around in the evening and they would listen to fireside chats with FDR, they had to have these fuses plugged in and they would light up like light bulbs, and that's what powered your radio. And I can't tell you how many there were. We kept like one of each size because otherwise the rafters, my house was being insulated with radio fuses, if that tells you anything. Okay? Don't you know little Jimmy was so sad to lose his baseball? Look at that, y'all. Somebody's little baseball was in the raccoon's nest. Oh, makes me sad for them still, and it's been 100 years probably. We have a little child's cup. Isn't that cute? Or possibly the top of a thermos. Oh, did you see that dust just come out? That's not creepy at all. We have a letter from 1966. Letter's not in it anymore. It's just the envelope. Happy Father's Day to you. Isn't that sweet? Echoes of the lives that were lived here. Now, this one I love. This is I'm a Peppers Club pledge. See that? I'm a Peppers Club pledge. And it's still got a little bit of pepper in it. So at some point, the Peppers Club met in our attic, and there was a Peppers pledge. So I take the Peppers Club pledge, whatever it is. It's probably not to tell about the Peppers Club, so I probably just broke the pledge. Sorry. We have, so in every room, sorry, I know that's not a pretty cut of my face. In every room, there was wallpaper, and we kept scraps of all the wallpaper from each of the rooms. And I love that. They're so delicate. I mean, like they're crumbling, they're falling apart. We have bright blue milk glass. So this is the top or the bottom of a hair receiver. Now, if y'all don't know what a hair receiver is, you want to be real creeped out, I'm about to creep you out in the worst sort of way. Back in the day, when women wore their hair super, super long, they would brush their hair every night. They really did think 100 strokes made your hair healthy. And then they would take all the hair out of the brush. They would keep it in a little jar on their dresser called a hair receiver, like this. The other side would have had a hole in the top to cram the hair down in. And they would then use that hair to make false ringlets, wiglets. Isn't that fun? But it was the thing. It's what everybody did. How people worked back then. And you know, where else are you going to get hair to make your wigs? Of course, that's a whole other story that we could get into about class structure, but we won't do that right now. One of my favorite things, so I saved kind of my favorite thing for last, truly my favorite thing, are Popular Science from 1919. It's a full magazine. So this has been in this house for 101 years. Isn't that amazing? I love that. I had it open. This one is all about aviation, which, as you know, in 1919 was still really new. Now, even more amazing is this magazine is published the year that World War I ended. How crazy is that? So there's lots of stuff in here about the war, about what things are still at war, what things are still being affected by the war. So cool. But let me see, I have to say, this is on page 72, my favorite article. They are figuring out the problem, they're solving the problem of where to land the airplanes in cities. We have these new air machines. They have to have a place to land, but where are we going to land them? I know what we'll do. We'll build big, round runways in the sky above the buildings. That is a perfect solution, don't you think? Let's put runways and landing strips in a circular form right above the high-rises. That is only one of the many fantastical things that you will find in Popular Science 1919. So those are a few. I have to quit because this video is already 15 minutes long, 16 minutes long, and that's getting too long and nobody's going to watch all the way to the end. And I want everybody to see my Popular Science because I love it. But those are just a few of the fantastic things, the treasures that we have found so far in our home remodels. Our first house that we remodeled, we found a ton of treasures in the yard, and I left them with the house with the new owners, thinking, oh, it was so sweet of me to leave them these things. And then I don't think they appreciated them at all, really. So I've kind of regretted that decision since I made it. But we had some really cool things from there too, but I don't have them here to show you. But I'm going to take Francis's shoe and little Johnny's baseball and put them back in my showcase in the entryway. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, like the video, shoot me a comment, tell me what your favorite thing was in my collection of treasures, and we'll do another treasure video sometime soon.